social media. How do you foresee this affecting like those who like, because you know we're only talking about like, you know, video copyright here, but let's get into like the picture and the picture and the other, and I guess audio.
Well, I mean,
copyright.
you know how it's going to work. You can imagine it right now. Whenever you go to post a piece of content, video or an image or whatever, you're gonna upload it and be, please wait, scanning, dot 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 dot. Now what happens if it detects that this is a copyrighted image? Is it going to say, please click to certify that this is fair use? Is that what's going to come up? Or is it just going to say, sorry, this image is copyrighted and you can't upload it? So that is the system that we're going to be looking at, making a new tweet, uploading an image, and either there's two options. They'll allow us to continue by pressing a button, even though it's detected bad, or they'll say you can't do this. Those are the two possible options that we have. One of those will go into fruition.
Yeah, it's gonna be a shit show. Because I'm just thinking here, like, man, we could really live in a world where something as innocent as like a SpongeBob meme, maybe even like a reposted, like not even like an OC, like, you know, like imagination, the SpongeBob rainbow gets thrown on Twitter, and it's like, oh well, that's Viacom, Nickelodeon, sit your ass down, you know,
Yep.
and you know, and that is like, you know, that's where we could be heading, right? Is that feasible? That you could like?
Well, I don't know if the law is going to override fair use. I would like to think that. See, here's the thing: how should it work perfectly? That it would stop with the one with no fair use, and that it would let the other ones through. But what are we going to have, like a team of 1,000 fucking like workers sitting in an office somewhere, being like, "That's a meme, that's a meme, that's a meme." Like that seems like the pretty fucking backwards way of trying to do this shit. You know, like is that what they're expecting off of us?
Oh, dude, I don't know. It's just gonna be, you know, what would be funny is like, so if this, in a situation where they actually do something as petty as like, you know, track down SpongeBob image post macros and memes like that, people would just like mass adopt over, you know, let's just call it over like years of oppression, assuming the culture wouldn't just like go into a giant shitstorm of like, I don't know, whatever. Like if it remained stagnant and content with where it was and just adapted, it would be like, all right, well, we no longer like SpongeBob. We like Sponge Flob. Sponge Flob is like a pink sponge with a curly mustache, with like the Pringles mascot. And people would just mass use Sponge Flob to continue their SpongeBob meme meta. And just,
Yeah, it's a giant step backwards. There's no way to look around it. It's stupid. It was pushed heavily for by corporations, and they got their wish, and they're grasping on to a fucking day that doesn't exist anymore. Your shit, just everyone is so stupid with the piracy thing, and that's where it all comes from. 100% of this is like they watch my music without paying, or they, you know, they watched a movie without paying. You can't stop it. You can't. The days of being able to stop that shit were like 20 years ago. Maybe. It's done. Here's the problem. The movie industry and the music industry are used to an existing form of revenue that they've had for a significant period of time, right? For movies, it's movie theaters and then sending out the DVDs and the sponsorship that comes with it. And for music, it's, you know, basically what, streaming. I don't know how much album sales is off of, you know, downloads versus CDs, but those are the industries that they're in. And those are getting crushed more and more and more every year as a result. Now, as we go more into the future and we see more things like Netflix and we see more things like, you know, piracy becoming even easier and even easier. Like, for instance, you'll see that with like, do you remember Popcorn Time by any chance?
Popcorn Time. Doesn't ring a bell. Is that a song?
Popcorn Time was like a website that basically was a front end for, it was a front end for BitTorrent, and it looked just like Netflix. So you could go to like Popcorn Time, and all of the latest movies that were on the BitTorrent service, you could just one-click play. It was like making BitTorrent for idiots. You just go popcorntime.com and watch any video in your browser that's on BitTorrent. It was insane. Okay, the movie theaters, or sorry, the movie studios freaked the fuck out because they knew BitTorrent's here to stay, but this is making it way too fucking easy. When you can send your grandma, just go to popcorntime.com and click play. There's no installing programs. There was no nothing, right?
Right.
So they're fearful of that, but we have to accept that in the future, that's going to happen again, and it won't be able to be removed. So where do movie theaters get their income from once that happens? If they can't rely off of ticket sales and DVD sales, the answer is going to be your fucking movies are going to have a lot more sponsored products in them moving forward. I'll tell you what. Listen, 10 years from now, movies are going to be all about sponsored products, and we're all going to fucking hate it because that's going to be the last reliable source of income that you can't take out of those things. When I can't make money from ticket sales, when I can't make money from DVD sales, all that's left is sponsorships in the video and
now
sponsorships.
You bring up a great point
yeah.
there. First, let me I want to bring up a parallel example and see if this differs from what you're saying is the apocalypse of the movie revenue industry. Let's look at the last 20 years of the record industry, right? So prior to Napster's disruption with the peer-to-peer sharing network that allowed music to get like finally have a giant, piracy ring, right? Record industry was very stagnant. There was, you still had the archaic system of buying. They really weren't even making it convenient to get a CD single. The idea of getting the one-hit wonder or the CD single was like $5.99 for one song, usually like, the song, the instrumental, and a remix if you were lucky. $5.99 for one single at a record store in like, 95, as far back, as late as honestly like, 2003, I would say, right?
Yeah.
Maybe a little bit further.
I remember buying singles. I remember buying, you remember the song Informer by Snow?
Yeah.
Informer? Yeah, but that was the single
Informer.
Boom, boom, down. That was like a white Jamaican guy. Sorry,
yeah.
I don't want to get off topic.
No. It's fucking, yeah, that is massive one-hit wonder right there. And I'm sure the album's probably garbage, with the one song right there is the one you were looking for, really. And but yeah, it was an archaic system because singles were inconvenient. You had to physically find them, if you could, and honestly, it wouldn't even surprise me if you deliberately manufactured an undersupply of the single, but you oversupplied the album because, well, you ain't got the album, but you don't have the single, but you can buy the album for $13.99. So oftentimes you're just compelled to buy the whole album, So CDs were $5.99, singles were $5.99, albums were generally around $13 onward and up, until Napster came out with their piracy ring, and who was really butthurt? Was it it was Metallica, right? Metallica was the ones who were like,
well,
really...
the singer of Metallica, right?
I forget exactly, yeah, but yeah,
Mars something or other. He was like parodied in South Park as a result of it.
Oh yeah, for sure, yeah. Metallica, yeah. Metallica, they were super mad about it, and but what that led to was, I guess, the birth of like a new distribution model where they couldn't stop it, right? You shut down Napster, but then BearShare pops up. You shut down BearShare, and then Kazaa pops up, and then by that point, it's 2004. It's been 3 to 4 years of customer expectation of like somewhere meet me in the middle here. Piracy gives me what I want for free and a superior UI and delivery mechanism. CD singles and the record stores are archaic and bloated in price, so you got to meet the consumer demand with the supply halfway, right? Which then births. I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, continue. Sorry,
okay.
I don't want to interrupt.
Which births the the innovative distribution of music that kind of mainstream started with iTunes, but has now gone on to lead to the boom of music streaming services. Which then goes back to the record industry now, because here we are now where no one's buying on average, let's say like 2 albums a month, $26 for 2 things, or we're now having to share the entire revenue of Spotify, Apple Music, and etc. We're making probably pennies compared to what we used to make in the 90s. We used to make a killing, and to where now they have to thrive off of merchandising, non-music merchandising, and touring for the majority of these recording artists' revenue. So they modernize. And are you? So what I'm getting back here too about that whole spiel right there is that, do you feel that the movie industry couldn't modernize? That it's just going to be this bleak outlook of product placement and sponsored garbage throughout your movies?
I think movies are more challenging than music, and I'll tell you why. Because for music, there's not a lot of other options for that, right? Music can be free, but you still want it. You want it in your car. You want streaming has kind of solved music, and the music industry, for the most part, I think is okay with what they get. They get their streaming revenue, they get touring, and then album sales are going to die pretty much completely because not a lot of people own music. But it is what it is. That will taper off and level at a certain point. But that's it. The music is done because it's very simple, but it's different than movies because movies, typically, most people will watch a movie once and be done. Music can continually go over time. You get the royalties over music if it's played in certain places, if you want it for your commercial. There's a lot of other options for music that there isn't for movies. Movies are they're trickier, right? And I don't know where you can go. Now, a lot of people would say, you know what, I would pay $20 a month. Just give me a type of Netflix where I can watch whatever movies I want and be done, and I'll pay, and that'll be it. And the answer is, sure. We're going to get to that type of position eventually. The movie studios are going to have to do that. There's going to need to be a way that you can watch new movies, not at a movie theater, but at your house. Because as technology continues to advance and we get more sites like Popcorn Time, and the quality comes out sooner and sooner, and the movie studios are
consumer technology like home theaters are becoming just they get more and more accessible.
Yeah, so that's gonna happen. And if we can assume that somewhere in the future that you can watch any movie you want on your computer, either paid or free, you're going to have to adjust, if you're a movie studio, of the revenues that you're used to having. There's no way around it. The ticket sales are going to continue to die out as technology progresses further. There's no way around it. Now, right now, the model they have just seems so stupid. It's like, try as hard as we can not to keep the video file away from the public. So you get all these cams and DVD rips, or not DVD rips, but cams or telesyncs and things like that. And that's the model that they do to try and keep it out of the public's hands as long as possible. But yeah, I don't know how long that can last. I feel like eventually we're going to, either video quality from the camera is going to get good enough that you can basically have a DVD quality video just by pointing a camera at the screen, or what. But yeah, they're going to have, the only option left for movies, especially since you only watch them once, is going to be built-in sponsorships. And then, yeah, it's going to make pretty shitty videos. Like, as someone said, like the Air Jordans and Spider-Man and things like that. It's just going to be, shit.